All right, guys, we're back with another Cleats Off edition. If you didn't catch the first one, it kind of went through my journey through high school, and it's leading up to this second one. Where we're going to talk about being an early enrollee, which kind of ties up just right now because January is coming up, and that's actually when I enrolled in Auburn. So I ended up graduating high school early and enrolled in Auburn January 7th, 2010. And Auburn was actually coming off their bowl win in the Outback Bowl. I forgot who they played, but it was a big win. I think they kicked a field goal to win the game, and nobody was on campus. It was like ghost town. So we pull up to drop me off, and they're doing their old shenanigans. My mom, my dad, stepdad, stepmom, everybody's there. Mom's crying, whatever. The only person that's there to meet and greet us is GA, and that GA was actually Travis Williams, Coach T. Will. So he met us, got us moved in. Parents left, and then I'm out on my own. So it's January. I'm 18 and a half, whatever you want to say. I was born in August. So, and T. Will walks me up to the dorm. So actually, when we were getting recruited, they talked about the village was the big thing. So the village was these new dorms. They're actually sorority dorms now, but that was the athletic dorms. So we were supposed to move in there, but for some reason, because everybody wasn't back on campus yet, we couldn't move in. So we got moved into Sewell Hall. So anybody knows what I'm talking about by Sewell Hall, not the new Sewell Hall, the old Sewell Hall, like old Sewell Hall. So we got moved into there for like 3 days before everybody got back on campus, and then we ended up getting moved into the village. The Sewell Hall now is South Donahue, really nice. So I actually moved back in there my senior year. Me and Kenny did, but so early enrollee, come in January. I got nothing to my name. At the time, I think, okay, so you got an iPhone 4. This is dating it, 2010. iPhone 4 still had the home button. And I got, that's it, iPhone and some clothes. And during that 3 days, or maybe after, you go and go to Regions and get set up like with a bank account and everything else. Because, see, I didn't know this either. You get a scholarship check. So every month you get a scholarship check for just even being on scholarship. So did not know that going into it, but I can remember going to Regions and getting a debit card, which don't sound big right now in 2025, but at the time it was. I'd never had a debit card. Anything I paid for in high school was just cash, or your parents would write you a check or something like that. So that debit card was like okay, I guess, I don't know, moving up or something. I don't know. So end up doing that at the Regions thing, opened up a savings and a checking, and actually ended up putting some good money back. It's gone now though, so that's married life and kids. In high school, I didn't do a lot of partying and stuff like that. I went to a few, and I was kind of like that quiet kid. I really was in high school. Now, that totally changed by sophomore year. Yeah, that was out the window. But this freshman year, leading up to the early enrollee and stuff, that 3 days, I'm just kind of sitting around twiddling my thumbs trying to figure out what's happening next. So the list of guys that end up coming in with me as early enrollees. So you had some JUCO guys. You had Brandon Mosley, you had Roselle Gaydon, and you had Cam Newton. All right, and then your high school guys was me and Jessel Curry. So that was the 5 guys that did the early enrollees. So let's fast forward to those 3 days being over with. We end up getting moved into not South Donahue, but the village, right? So in the village, it ended up being me and Jessel were roommates, and so it was 4 to a room. And you walk in and go to the left, you had mine and Jessel's room. We didn't share a room, but there's just 2 rooms right there. And then over to the right, and I can't remember if Roselle moved in with us or not, but I know Brandon did. Brandon Mosley was to the right, and I can't remember Roselle was in there. I think Cam might have had his own room to himself, or he shared one with Roselle. I don't remember that. But so we get there, get rolling with that, and at the time, the only guy that's in my recruiting class is actually Jessel. So I'm not and I'll talk about this a little more, but the recruiting class that we had, which actually ended up being one of the best ever at Auburn. So that recruiting class had Michael Dyer, had Trevon Reed, Jeff Whitaker, Corey Lemonnier, Ladarius Owens, Kenny Carter, Jay Collin, Cody Parkey. I'll probably leave somebody out, but Chad Slade, Ryan White. Some dudes in there, some dudes that went on to play in the league. But I actually didn't get to really know them because, and I'll talk about this at the end, I ended up moving out of the dorms and moving in with Brandon at the end of that first semester of school, which is like not usually on like a rule was as a freshman, you get to live on campus. But I'm gonna tell you about how like that early enrollee, it was like the way I had kind of won over my teammates and I guess the coaches too from like spring or workouts or something like that. I guess I don't know if they looked at me like I was mature or what it was, but you get more money if you move out. So like they end up paying you. I didn't know all this. So if you move out, you not only get a scholarship check, they give you some more money too, because then they take you off the food. So then you have to like you buy your own food. Like you could be on the food check, which is like they're feeding you on campus, or you can say, no, I'm moving off. I'm gonna go buy all my own food. So they give you more money. So I ended up moving off and ended up actually like you end up racking up more money doing it that way. So I have no clue how that works now with NIL and everything else. I'd be like interested to know. But at the time going in, had no idea you get a scholarship check, and then was going to end up staying in the dorms my freshman year. But then I had the opportunity to move off with Brandon, so I ended up moving off with him. So I really didn't even live with the dorms with my freshman class. You know, had a good relationship with them, but then it's kind of like where coming in that early enrollee and not being there. So let's jump into off-season workouts, okay? And I could probably spend a whole like episode on this, but I'll kind of give you the gist of it. Coach Yox, the man, the myth, the legend. I guess we'll say all three. He really is. Love Coach Yox. Dude, some of the hardest workouts you could ever think of, and any of my Auburn people that right here are listening are just like, I know you got some flashing back in your head. Like imagine, so in high school we would work out. Coach would come there and tell you what the workout is, and then he would go out and make sure the PE class wasn't killing each other and stuff like that, and then you were just in there working out. So this is one like where you're in there with, and that was working out like maybe 20 people. So you have different like times that you can work out. So you have like a morning workout, a midday workout, or afternoon workout, and they base it off your classes, which in the spring, you did most of your spring practices in the morning. So then your workout would actually be before your classes, or you'd have to work out in the afternoon, which I'm almost positive they just did it all in the morning. That would make sense. But and then in the fall, like vice versa. You practice in the fall and the afternoon, so all your workouts were in the morning. So it's always built around practice. So like literally when they say you're a student athlete, it's all you do. Like you go to school, you work out, and you go to practice. And that's literally what it was for 4 years. So, and this is way down the road, so that's why I enjoyed graduate school so much, because you got to actually just be a student. But so like on Coach Yox's crew, so let's think about this, like his GAs at the time were Ryan Russell, which ended up being our strength coach my senior year, Coach Russell, and he's big time, man. I believe he's still at Missouri doing his thing. But those Coach Yox workouts, they were tough, man. There was a lot of running, and for whatever reason, I'm not gonna get on here and tell y'all that I was some like guru of defensive line or like some stud doing that. I knew my role and tried to do it to the best of my ability. But as far as like working out and running, I could do that pretty good. And this is something that maybe talking to you right now, and you might be a guy that's going in to like enroll early or something like that. Don't be afraid to stand out. And I really wasn't doing it to stand out. Like at the time, like if you'd have told me in 2010 that to get on a phone and start talking, I'd never done it. I was very quiet and kind of to myself. But running wise, we would run gassers, half gassers, full gassers, 110s, all kind of stuff. And this could be from playing 1A football or whatever it was. I just didn't get tired. So when I would run, I would smoke every rep. And when I'm saying smoke, like I'd be like 20 or 30 yards in front of everybody. And I'm not thinking about it at the time, but you're kind of getting some eyes from your teammates, kind of like, what are you doing? Because I don't know if y'all understand this, but not everybody likes working out. Like even like your all-star football players, they're not like working out's great. Like, oh, you're a workout warrior, but you got to be a good football player too, right? So a bunch of them, maybe they might not have like loved working out, but they were really good at football. You know what I mean? So it was like one of those things where it's like, hey man, you need to like, check yourself kind of deal. Like, what are you doing? But I think it won over the locker room because it wasn't like a look at me kind of thing. It was more of like, hey, this is just who I am. This is how like I work. And it ended up like winning over some teammates. But yeah, hey, so everybody knows, anybody that's maybe going in as a freshman right now or early enrollee, the strength coach is the first coach that you want to win over. Like you're not wanting to win over your position coach. You're not wanting to win over your head coach. You want to win over your strength coach, and I wasn't trying to win him over whenever I went in because Coach Yox is just a total bad A. I was just more of like just doing my thing. But I'm going to tell you why. Because the strength coach is the guy during the off season, all the coaches are on the road, they're doing their thing. They're going to report back to him like, hey, how's Sanders doing? Hey, how's Kenny Carter doing? Hey, and they're hanging on every word he says because he's the one that's around you more than any other coach in your 4 years or however long you stay at a place. The strength coach is going to be the guy that knows you better than anybody. So you want to make sure in those workouts, even if you don't like working out, you're not a big workout guy, you want to win him over because he's not there. They're not only going to talk to the coaches that you're playing at, but when the NFL guys come in and they're asking about you, the first person they're going to is the strength coach. I can promise you, they're going to them. So, always treat them with respect, which should just come naturally, but sometimes it don't for people. But, and win them over, and don't fake winning them over. Like win them over with effort, attitude, and everything else. So, yeah, that helped like identify me kind of as a player going in. I think it really helped me my freshman year, even getting on special teams, which we'll talk about later, way down the road, on the next episode. But, special teams was a big part of my freshman year, and that's pretty much what I played. I spot played when we beat the crap out of people. But that off-season identity that I set, with Coach Yox and my teammates and stuff helped me get on the field. And, so, that's kind of it right there for the workouts. I could jump into so much with those. Friday mornings we had finishers. That was a big finisher day because during the off season you could go home. So like on Fridays you wanted to, if you didn't, and most time professors would cancel class, which is awesome. And I'll talk about class in a second, okay? But Fridays was you had like a 6 a.m. workout and then like a 8 a.m. But everybody could do an early workout on Friday because you wanted to go knock it out because then you could go home if you wanted to go home if you lived close enough, But Friday was your big finisher day. So I'm just going to tell some because I know some people will be like, you spark some memories. So 2x4 boards. Everybody know the 2x4 board? We would take those and instead of running gassers, we would push those across the field and back. And it was like a race kind of deal. And you had time. So everything we did had time. It wasn't like we're just going to stand here and Coach Yox is going to wait for everybody to get done. No, like you were on a time limit. And then if you weren't done by that time, you added more reps. So that was motivating you to obviously like get it done within the time limit. So that was boards. We also had a big green hill. Everybody remember the big green hill? Okay. You would take that 2x4 board and push it up the hill. Okay. And you would push it up the hill. And then at the top was just like concrete pavement. So you'd be running full speed trying to get up the hill. And then somehow you had to kind of like stop so you didn't run into the pavement and like skid up your hands and fall over the front. Bunch of the sorest I've ever been. A bunch of those workouts I killed, but the one that killed me is we were pushing those boards up the hill, and then coach was making us walk down backwards over to the side. So it was big enough for people to be pushing up, and then you would walk down backwards over to the side. I remember my calves hurt for 2 weeks, like no lie. They had those big old sleds, the big wooden sleds. We would push those. And then somehow, I guess, the strength coaches just sat around and come up with crap. They had a 45-pound plate, and you would lay it on the ground. The ridges were up, so it was the flat side on the ground. And you would get your finger. Oh, that was the thing with the boards, too. Anybody that still has to push boards, you didn't want all your weight on it. So if you wanted to go fast, you barely put your fingertips on it. It was all technique, and you would glide as you were doing it. You were trying to glide, but the thing is, it's like a Jacob's ladder. Like you could go fast, but it's your heart rate. Your heart's in your throat. So what was I saying before that? Oh, the 45-pound plate. So we'd push the 45-pound plate across just like you would do the board, but then you take the 45-pound plate, put it on your back, and then you would lunge it back. So there's probably some more finishers too, but that was a 3. The big sled, the wood sled, you'd push it forward, and then you take and turn it around and you put your back on it and then you push it backwards. Like that's probably the three that I remember the most that would always get you and be pretty tough on a Friday. But hey, that's the off-season workouts. And then, so we're talking about class earlier. So, I'm from Ayrton, 1A. I was oblivious to this. I thought that you went to school every day. Like when I say every day, I meant like, I thought it was like 8 to 3. I know you're like, you're an idiot, but that's what I thought. I didn't know. Like I didn't know anything about college. So when I get there, I didn't realize you just have, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you go 8 to 8:50. Well, what do you do after 8:50? And I got a class at 11, and that's where you just go chill at the Haley Center or do whatever. We lived on campus, so you really could just go back to your room. But, I quickly caught on, we stayed for summer classes. So summer classes actually are, I don't know if, some people don't do those, but they're Monday through Friday. So they actually are Monday through Friday every day, but they're not like 8 to 3 or nothing like that. So, college was a big culture shock for me. It really was trying to study too. I didn't study a lot in high school. Like, obviously I just didn't study. But I wasn't dumb, not too dumb, but I didn't study. So then I had to learn how to study, which I caught on to a little bit. But then, of course, one of the first classes I'm in, which just makes no sense to me. And this is not my man, Brad. I would shout out to Brad, one of the best advisors I had. I don't think he was my advisor at the time, somebody else. I got put in biology 2, like my first in January, still supposed to be in high school. And by the way, that's what Coach Yachts used to say too, which I think has created some heat. Anybody knows heat, like a wrestling term, heat? That means like created some like teammates being mad. Just saying that we would be running and I would beat the group running or whatever, and Coach Yachts would stop the whole group and just be ripping everybody apart. And he's still supposed to be in high school and he's whipping y'all's butt. Stuff like that. So I'm surprised nobody tried to fight me in the locker room for real though, but I guess they just ended up liking it. All right, back to classes. And I like to be incognito during class. Like, you get all kind of Auburn gear when you first get there, but I didn't really want people to know that I was a football player. And, it's about to pop in some of y'all's head. I know you're about to laugh out loud, but there's some that they're going to wear that tracksuit everywhere they go. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's, some of my best friends did that. But Craig just had on regular clothes, and I like to just kind of blend in, and not kind of stand out. But I mean, like, there were some dudes that just wore that dang tracksuit. They still wear it, man. We have a reunion or something like that, and they might show up with that dang tracksuit on. Y'all know that guy who it might be on your team and stuff like that. But I tried to blend in. All right, so let's go back to biology 2. My professor was Dr. Curley, and this was an auditorium classroom, like 200 people. And the cool thing about him is at the end of the first class, he got everybody to come down and shake his hand, and you had to tell him your first and last name. And somehow from there on out, the rest of the semester, he knew your name. And he had a wombat, not a real wombat, but like a stuffed wombat doll. And he would throw it now. And there's like 200 people in this classroom. And if I caught it, he would go, all right, Craig, talk to us about whatever it was that day. So that was kind of cool. And that was also like a big thing, like shock to me too, because you walk into a classroom with 200 people. And but he's the only, well, not the only, but like one of the few professors that actually knew everybody by name and called them by name, which was kind of cool. So, and I left out bubble drills with Coach Yachts. Okay, so we called them bubble drills. I don't know what you call them now, but it was always like right before spring break, and then after spring break, we had these 5 a.m. workouts. And all it was just an hour of absolute running and dying, like just literally just running. That's all you did. Think about every drill you could think of, 5, 10, 5, all the bags, cone drills, everything. And it's just running nonstop, like from drill to drill. And they had like, the worst thing about it was, and it was one of those mindset things, they're just trying to push you to the limit and see what you can do and what you can't do. He'll break, he'll do whatever. And this is one of those things too, like I think ended up like, kind of helping win over the locker room and stuff like that. And they had jerseys, which is kind of cool too. So like you could get a green jersey, and this might have been Miles on Air, but I don't know if they did that year, but this is kind of cool. So you had a green jersey, orange jersey. That was an orange eater. You didn't want to be an orange eater. That's what it's actually was Malzahn, because this is a Malzahn thing. So if you had an orange jersey, you were an orange eater, which meant you were a fuddy dud. You didn't want to be that. But the green jersey was the best, and then navy was just like, average. You're just doing whatever. But these are just absolute running. That's all you did for an hour, and then they had like different assistants and stuff at each station. And let's say they called your name, like, "Oh, Craig, you didn't touch the line." The assistant would write your name down or put a tally mark by you, and then so we ended up all hating them. I mean, you couldn't stand them. And then one year, I remember one session I got mine called, and didn't even do anything. Somebody had said good job or something like that, and I got a tally mark. But anyways, if you got a tally mark at the end of all that like 1 hour of running, then you had punishment, like whatever it was, like bear crawls, up downs, whatever you were doing. But that added 2 on top of an hour of running. So I don't know if they're still doing bubble drills. They were hell when we were doing them. So yeah, always like right before spring break and after spring break leading up to spring ball. So let's jump into spring ball, man. My position coach was Tracy Rocker. Everybody that's an Auburn fan probably very familiar with that name. He ended up looking out for me really good. I can remember him telling me as we were going into spring ball that he wasn't going to feed me to the wolves. Like, he literally said that. So, you know, he kind of understood like me coming in and everything, but you know, he moved me all in. So spring ball, so think about it like this. Everything going from 1A practices to spring ball practices, the tempo went from 0 to 100, like literally, just because there's a horn blowing and you're going drill to team, back to drill, back to team group, back to like competition, pass pro, and all that. So it took like 1 or 2 practices to figure out like just the tempo of practice and how you're like supposed to practice. And then on top of that, trying to figure everything out in spring practice, you know, they invite all the high school coaches. So all these high school coaches are there, you know, watching the Auburn Tigers practice, and they're watching me either get my butt chewed out during a drill or something like that. So it puts like an added pressure on you. Like, I don't know if people really think about that, but especially being an early enrollee, I'm trying to figure out what to do at practice, and I'm not only having like a one-on-one with Coach Rock, but then you got like 20 or 30 high school coaches sitting there watching too, and being, you know, they're like, you know, talking crap about you or being, I don't know, yeah, but you know, it's just like added pressure on you while you're at practice trying to do your thing. So practice, you only get 10 days of practice, and the nine of them are real practices, and the 10th is the A day. So the A day ended up being the second largest A day ever. The first one was my senior year, was when Malzahn got hired. That was the biggest. That was 86,000. My freshman year, I guess the hype around bringing Cam in and everything, there was big build up. It was 63,000 for my freshman year. So, and I'll give you a little hint about A day. So the way they do A day, they split up the teams. And this is, I learned this as a coach too. You know, as a player, you kind of like, you don't really maybe I see it your freshman year, but I kind of figured out towards the end of senior year. A day, you want to look good. Everybody. The coaches want to end up looking good at the end. The players want to end up looking good at the end. You don't want to go into an A day and absolutely beat the crap out of the other team. But yeah, so the goal, you know, is to come out and offense looks good, defense looks good, and everybody's injury free and things like that. And I'm not trying to discourage you from going to A day, because even having kids, that's a fun time to take and be on campus, you know, and you actually get to see the team and kind of what it's going to look like going into the new season. But so you're talking about a dad being a dad. So my dad ended up recording some clips from my first A day, because I couldn't find any anywhere. So let's take a look at these, and let's break these down, all right, and look at old Craig Sanders' first college showing and see how he did. 3, 2, 1. All right, so here we go. We got the run out coming in. Old Craig trotting in. Old Tony's filming on his iPhone 4. I had the same helmet that I had in high school too, that face mask. That was the best face mask, man. I had to end up getting rid of it sophomore year. They cut out right deal. So here we go. All right. And this is actually Roselle going against him for the run. Look at this. Oh, man. Oh, man. I am getting wore out. Oh, crap. Look, you can even watch me in this play. I kind of walk back like, okay, that run block's a little different. All right, now we're at the top of the screen on the other side. I could pass rush kind of good. That's A.J. Green blocking. Boom. Got a little thing on Neil Cottle. I'll tell you something about A.J. Green here in a second. AJ Green, actually, anybody listen to T. Will when he had the Tiger Walk song, he was the guy that helped develop the beat for that. So there's a little fun fact. Here's me running to the ball, didn't really do nothing, but hey, good effort, Craig. All right. Top again, going against old AJ, getting some pass rush. Okay, run the edge, make him step up. Boom, take off running. Look, y'all see my head drop right there? Man, you talking about somebody that pissed off. And I don't know why I do this. And I understand this now as a coach, but after plays, even if I did good or bad, I would drop my head and like look at the ground. I don't know why I did that. I have no clue, but that pissed Tracy Rocker off so bad. And he used to just rip my butt about dropping my head. So I finally stopped doing it at the end of my freshman year. There we go. Old Chiz gave me a sack on there. It definitely was not a sack, but yeah. So cool little spring game right there. End up getting some playing time, and well, I guess everybody gets playing time in spring, but end up getting some playing time in spring. But it was good. It was fun spring, fun like first semester, being out on my own. I didn't go home one time. I got out of Clio and enjoyed being kind of out on my own, and I ended up probably not going home till the next Christmas. We had a little break before we went to the national championship. So that kind of leads us up to summer, the summer before we go into the national championship year. So the next Cleats Off episode, we'll pick up with the start of the season, and we'll probably just go to the first 7 games, and then we'll do a two-part episode and break down the first 7 and then the last 7. And I ended up winning that spring game. Blue team won 21-17. So, and then guess what? Didn't lose another one until 2011. So we're about to talk about going 14-0 with the Auburn Tigers and winning a national championship. Appreciate you guys, and remember, if you love the game, you're in the right seat.